Hey, I'm Dustin Vance. Thank you for tuning into the video. I'm going to give you an overview of my latest project called Iris. Iris is a cooperative microgame for 1 to 4 players and plays in about 20 minutes. The theme is that we have these clones, and we are using clones to colonize some newly discovered planets. You can probably see where this is going. The clones aren't treated well, the conditions are harsh, and the clones are going to rebel. And it is the job of the players to squash that rebellion and maximize human population survival rates. So let's get into the components here. We have 4 location cards. We have 3 rules cards. The rules are pretty straightforward, they're elegant, they're concise, and they fit pretty nicely on these cards. We have 12 human population tokens. They have citizens and soldiers on them. I'll get into what those do later on. And we have 18 different clone cards. So there are 3 types of clones. You can see them here, but within each clone, there are 6 types of cards. The front of those cards are all the same, but it's the backs that are different. And there are letters on the back of each clone card. And on some of them, there are QR codes for a little bit of flavor text, kind of develop the story a little bit more. Each clone has an alternate turn. I'll get into that when I start talking about the gameplay a little bit more. And it's got the breakdown of the letter distribution within each clone type. So within this blue clone, which is called an F model within the game, there are 2 A's, 1 B, 2 M's, and an O. And players will use those to kind of discuss the odds of the different decisions they make, and that's the crux of around what the players are going to be discussing: odds, risks, what opportunities they might have, what locations think there's going to be an attack, where there's not going to be an attack, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of tension. You're waiting for the big build-up, the reveal at the end, and I'm looking forward to showing you this game here. Alright, I've changed the camera a little bit because as I walk you through what the game is going to be, I'm actually going to play a full solo game for you so you get a real feel for what the game looks like and how it plays, and get a little bit of understanding of why this game is so awesome. So, I'll start with the setup. What you see is the 4 location cards in the middle of the play area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 2 bottom cards of the clone deck after I shuffle them. I'm going to place 1 clone on the top of each location. This leaves 12 clones remaining in the deck, and those are distributed evenly throughout the players in the game. In a solo game, you break those into 3 piles. That would be 3 piles of 4, as you can see here. And then you distribute the human population tokens evenly to each player as well. In this case, they're all mine. So the goal of this game is to not have attacks on each location. So you can see that there's letters. Earlier I touched on that there's letters on the back of the clone cards. You can see that there's letters on each location. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing clones onto these locations, and gradually throughout the game, I'm going to be gaining knowledge of what letters are on the back of those clone cards. What I'm trying not to do is spell words that would lead to a clone attack. And those words are bomb, mob, and ammo. At the end of the game, if any of these locations has the letters present to spell one of those words, they don't necessarily need to be in order, then there is an attack on that location and I will lose human population. So one of the very first things you need to do after setup is you need to pick a human survival goal. I'm going to pick 9. That's what I recommend for the standard game. For a little bit easier game, you can play with 7, but I'm going to try to go with 9 here. So each turn, there are 2 things you can do. You can either take a standard turn or an alternate turn. The standard turn consists of, first, looking at the back of one of the clones that's already in play. Second, taking a clone from your hand and placing it into play. Then third, placing a human population token on either the soldier or the citizen side. Alternate turns are listed on each card, and each clone type has its own alternate turn. The cloned alternate turn has to be on the clone that you're putting in play that turn. So, for example, I couldn't use the R model's clone alternate turn here and then play a blue card. Has to be the F model, the blue ones, that I use the alternate turn for. Side note on the soldiers and citizens. So as I'm placing these on two locations, as you'll see me do here momentarily, I have to keep in mind whether I think I'm going to win that location or if I'm going to lose that location. When I say lose, I mean if there's going to be an attack on it. I may not necessarily lose all the population on that planet, but I will certainly lose some. So, if I have the majority of citizens on a location, I'm betting that there is not going to be an attack on that location. If I am wrong and there is an attack on that location, that attack does one more damage than it would normally. On the other side, if I load up a location with more soldiers than citizens, I am betting that there is going to be an attack on that location. If I am wrong in that case, my survival goal goes up by 1. I set it at 9 a couple minutes ago. It would go up to 10 for each location I'm wrong that I have more soldiers on. So that adds a really nice element of, not only am I trying to get some clones out here and arrange them in a way that there's not going to be attacks, but throughout the game, as I place these, I have to kind of weigh my odds of what are the chances that there's going to be an attack there. And I'm taking gambles throughout the game. And it adds a really nice element of just something else that the players need to consider. So I will take these back, and I'll get started. All right, I am going to work starting with this top section and work down. I am going to start by taking a standard turn. And I'm going to talk to you about my reasoning as I go here as well. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but at the start of the game, I removed these 2 clone cards. I did not look at the backs of them, so I do not know what those letters are. So, this group's got two blue cards in there, F models. I'm going to take a peek at what this F model is. If you remember, on a standard turn, you first look at a card. It's called scanning in the game. Then you place a card, and then you place a population token. So that is an A. For the F model clones, there are 2 A's, 1 B, 1 M, and 1 O. I would have preferred that that was a B or an O. It would have given me a little bit more information, but sometimes it doesn't fall that way. So on Janus, that location, I have a and an O. I am an M away from an ammo attack, but ammo attacks are fairly benign attacks most of the time. They can range from 1 to 3 human population loss, and most of the time it's in the 1 range, and I can live with that. But I would still prefer not to have an attack. The R model here, the green colored clone, only has 1 M, so my greatest chances of not having an M are with them. I am going to put him there, and I am going to, right now I'm not sure which way that's going to go, but I'm going to put a soldier on Janus. Moving on to the next turn. I'm going to continue on with this pattern so that I have a B. So I have a B, A, and an O. I don't have an attack quite yet, which is good. Again, there are 2 B's with the R model clone, so it doesn't rule anything out, unfortunately. But that's the way the game goes. I'm going to place another one of these on Janus again because the chances of there being an M are about 1 in 5 at this point, and I like those odds. But another thing I have to consider here is that the R model clones have the only ability to look at these cards before I put them in play. So if I play them all early, I'm going to lose that ability later in game, where the decision could become a little bit more vital. But that's a risk I'm willing to take, and I'm starting to like the odds of Janus a little bit more, so I'm going to start playing a citizen there. I'm going to move on to this third group. I've got a lot of the X model clones here, are the white ones. So I'm going to take a look at one of these. You can see that there's human population maxes down here. That's how many population tokens I can put on each of those locations. So Janus and Boreas have a maximum of 4. Morcella and the Iris station have a maximum of 3. With 12 tokens, that's going to mean I'm going to have to put population on each place. There isn't any place that's going to be free from worry. There's no place I can really dump cards to know that I'm not going to lose population. There's going to be population on every card. So I'm going to start off with Boreas because I've got a lot of X models and it's got the highest human population. I've got an O and an M. Every word that I'm spelling has an O and an M in it, and that puts me at a fairly high risk of an attack there. There's some things I can do. The F models have the ability to swap cards in and out, and I may take a look at that later. So I think I'm going to finish off Janus here. Each location can only have a maximum of 4 clones on it, and that's how the 12 cards that were just distributed to players are spread evenly throughout the locations. The game ends when each location has 4 clones on it. And I'm still liking my odds, especially with a lot of F models out here, because like I said earlier, they can swap cards out. I know these 3 are going to keep me safe. We'll see what this one does next round. So I'm bouncing back up to this group, and we are going to take a look at this and see what we got. We have an O. I don't believe I know this one. As you can see, there's a large memory component here as well. As I start placing these clones out, I am likely going to lose track of what they are, especially while I'm doing this video. So there is certainly a large memory component to this game as well. But knowing that's an O, I still like my odds. I'm going to take the bet that there's not going to be an attack here and fill that up with 3 citizens. Because I've hit my population max, I can't do anything else with Janus. But I do need to place a card. I know that there is an O here. I don't know anything about these, especially since the X models have 2 of everything. Well, and I do know that this is an O, taking that back. So I have 2 O's here, which means these are not O's. These are M's or B's. And I am going to go place one of my F models on Morcella. Condense these a little bit for my own benefit. All right. I'm actually going to take an alternate turn here. I want to know what some of these F models are, so that I can know if I need to swap in the future, if I know if I know if I'll be safe or not. It's much more beneficial when swapping if you know what you're swapping with. The later you wait in the game, the more you're probably going to know about the F model cards, but the less options you have at that point. So I'm actually going to take one of the R models alternate turns, and that is to place this card on a location, reveal the clone data of 1 card in your hand, and then place 1 population token as normal. So you'll see as a theme throughout the alternate actions that you're losing knowledge of what's in play in order to gain knowledge in other areas. In this case, I'm losing an opportunity to look at the back of one of the cards that's in play, to look at the back of 1 card that's already in hand. And it's the sacrifice of knowledge that is what happens when you take an alternate turn. So I am going to place this card on the station. I don't know much about the station at this moment, but I know I don't want to risk anything going on with Boreas, so I'm going to leave that alone. And I need to place a population token like normal. I know this is not an O, so a BB or an MB isn't the end of the world. I'm going to start with a citizen on Morcella. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made in this game, and as you can see, it's a small game, it's a micro game, but it fills up the table nicely, and I like that. It's not like a micro game where you just have cards in your hand, or there's a couple things on the table. Players have hands, there's population tokens that are spread out, there's this grid that you're forming. It really does fill up the table, makes it feel a little bit more like a substantial game. All right, going on to this group now. I'm going to learn a little bit more about Morcella, since I have a population there already. I got an M and a B. I had a 50-50 chance of that, and that's not the end of the world. So now looking at my X model cards, I know that these two are O's, so this is not an O. I know that that is an M, so I have got 66% chance that this is a B, and either whether it's a B or an M, I like those odds. I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to put a citizen down. Looking back, when I took the R model's alternate turn, I played the card. I did not look at one card in my hand. That was a mistake on my part. I'm juggling the video here, but I am going to do that now. And this is an M. So I know that this is an M, and I will use that in the future. I apologize for that mistake. So now I'm back up here. I am halfway through the game at this point. Half of the cards are on the board, half the human population tokens are down. The one alternate turn I haven't touched on at this point is the X model's alternate turn. What the X model does is it allows you to move population around between locations. So if I get to a point in the game where I say, I've made a mistake, the odds turned against me, I have a large attack, like a bomb, for example. With a bomb, you lose all the population on a particular location. I may want to start shifting some of those populations other places to try to mitigate the damage, and that's what the X model helps you do. So I'm going to continue on with Morcella. I have an A, so I have an A, B, and an M. That is not an attack at this moment. So I am going to play this is a tough decision. I think I'm going to play the F model here. I knew that this was an M from my alternate turn with the R model, so I was considering putting this one here, knowing that that would free up Morcella from an attack, likely, pending what that is. Actually, no, that's not an O, so it would free up Morcella from an attack. But I like my odds here, that there is only one O on the F models, and I'm going to take those odds, place a final citizen down on Morcella, and I'm going to save the M F model that I know for this next turn. So I'm going to do that now. I am going to take the F model's alternate turn here, and I'm going to swap this card with one already in play, and then two, place the original card in a different location. I have already filled up Janice and Morcella, so really my last place I can place this location is here. I am getting into a little bit of a dangerous situation on the station because I've been placing cards there and I'm not entirely sure what they are. But if I was going to do that anywhere, the station is probably the place to do it because the A can lead to an ammo attack, which I said earlier is the least of the dangerous attacks that we have. So I've filled up Morcella and Janice. I now know that I have two M's on Boreas. and I am going to place a citizen there. I'm going to be optimistic, but I have 3 more cards that I need to place there. So there's a lot of game left. All right, moving on to this bottom group. I had to start trying to learn some things about the station. I know everything on Boreas at the moment. So let's look at what we got here. We have a B. We have a B and an A, and that is a fairly safe bet. In this decision, the letter distributions overlap a little bit, so I'm trying to consider which alternate turns might I like to have later in the game. And right now I'm thinking I'd like to have the X models. But now I've got another decision to make. If I place this card on the Iris station, that means these other 3 really go on the Boreas station. I have an F model, so I could swap some things if I needed to. But I don't like doing that, so I'm going to place this on Boreas. I don't know a lot about the Iris station. I know we got a B and an A, but there's a lot of O's and M's out there that aren't accounted for. So I'm going to place a soldier there. We are into the final 3 turns of the game. So I'm going to take a look at what I did on Boreas here, and I put an O. So I have 2 M's and an O. If I get a B or an A on Boreas, I'm going to have an attack, which is not particularly favorable, of course. And this R model is the only clone left in this group, and I don't know much about them at this point. I probably should, but my memory is escaping me a little bit, and I'm really not able to draw any real conclusions here. So I knew this last one was an O. There are 2 O's, so this could possibly be an O. I am going to put it there nonetheless. And I am going to split that for the time being. If there is a tie, it goes to the citizens, but it gives me some options of placing a citizen there later. All right, so let's take a look at it. It is an O. So I have a mob attack on Boreas. I have my F model here, but since I already started taking the standard turn, I can't swap that card out, and that is going to be what it is. So I have the dangerous part about a mob attack is that 1 more B turns it into a bomb, which is more catastrophic. And I will put, I don't remember if I've seen any Bs on the F models, but I think my odds are better with 1 B on here, because I think there's a good chance that this is a B, knowing where the M's and the O's have been distributed with the X models. And I know there's a clone attack there, so I'm going to put a soldier there as not to increase the attack's damage with citizens. And as I come into my last turn here, I could move some population around. I could swap between the station and Boreas and the Iris station. But I don't think I'm going to do that because I don't really have a lot of information on what's on the Iris station. So I think I'm just going to put this here. There's really no point in me scanning anything. And I am going to put a soldier. And that's the gameplay portion. You can see that there was constantly decisions that need to be made. There's complex decisions. You're trying to make these complex decisions. You're weighing odds. But you're also trying to remember what you've already put on the board. And so it's this crazy kind of mental exercise you're going through. And that makes, from a solo games perspective, that makes it a lot of fun. But it really increases the fun when you're trying to weigh these odds with multiple people and you're talking about what's already on the board and you're thinking, man, I just scanned that card, and the four of us can't remember what it is, and that's a lot of fun. So let's get into the scoring here. The game kind of builds up to this big reveal, which from my playtesting at Promotional Milwaukee, which I got some great feedback at, was what some people really loved about the videos. That it kind of just builds up to this revealing of everything. So let's start with the things I already am familiar with for the most part. I could be wrong if I've forgotten some things, but Morcella does not have the letters present to spell ammo, bomb, or mob. So these three population are safe. Let's move on to Janice. I don't have an M here. I got lucky. So Janice is safe. That means those four population are safe. Now here are the dangerous ones. If you remember, my population survival rate was a 9, which means I can only lose 3 population and still win the game. 3 O's and an M, which I did not expect. My memory was saying I had a B there, but that's part of the game. I can't remember everything. I put soldiers there, which means that there was not an attack, and my win requirement goes up by 1. I played the odds wrong on that one. I now need 10 to win, which I think I will win the game, because even if this is an attack, which it is, I have both a mob and an ammo attack here. In this case, they will do the same amount of damage. Ammo attacks, so A, M, and O, they do the amount of damage that is the number of M's that are on that location. And that's an interesting part about the game as well, in that if you know you have an A, M, and an O, if you start to put B's on there, then you're turning those into mobs and bombs, and that's certainly not a good thing. But if you start to put M's on there, you're increasing the damage of that attack, which isn't good either. So you're trying to put O's and A's on there, and you're fighting those conversations with all the other things you're doing, and it gets a little crazy. But I do have an ammo attack. I will lose one of these populations, but I did surprisingly well in this game, despite my odds screw up here, and I ended with 11 population, which is higher than my survival goal of 9, so I won that game, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I will take a look at my other 2 cards here, and they were M's, which is fairly helpful in this game. M's and O's being out makes the game a little bit easier, and that is a game of Iris. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching this video.